Over the years, many atheists have made the claim that evolution is more than just a theory. Is this claim valid? Let's take a look.
As for me, I'm a fan of scientific theories, like the Big Bang Theory, the theory of evolution by natural selection, the germ theory of disease, plate tectonics theory, the theories of special and general relativity, and my favourite, quantum theory. Some people say that these are just theories and believe that they have not been proven by science. They talk and think about them as somehow inferior ideas about how the world works because they're called theories rather than, say, facts or laws. But these people are mistaken. It's not entirely their fault. It's because the word theory doesn't mean quite the same thing in the world of science as it does when used in general conversation, where it can mean a guess or a hunch or something that isn't quite known for sure. When scientists call something a theory, they mean a set of ideas that does three things. 1. A scientific theory puts forward a comprehensive explanation for things we observe in nature. 2. A scientific theory provides strong evidence for that explanation. And 3, perhaps most importantly, a scientific theory provides ways to make predictions about the aspects of the world it explains, which we can then test by further observation. In everyday conversation, we can dismiss someone's idea about something by saying, it's just a theory. But we can't dismiss the theories of Darwin and Einstein and other great scientists in the same way.
This is not true. There actually have been many scientific theories which had good evidence and that later turned out to be absolutely false because the new evidence was misunderstood. This is known as the affirming the consequent fallacy. Basically, when you assume a theory and look for evidence, and then when you find the evidence, you assume because you found the evidence, this now proves the theory, when the evidence could be there for various different types of reasons other than your theory. Here's a logical example. Premise 1. If I find a mail in my mailbox, it will prove that people love me. Premise 2. I found a mail in my mailbox. Conclusion. Therefore, people love me. Well, the problem here is that it could very well be the case that it's a hate mail. So, it doesn't really prove anything. So, I'll give you guys a real life example. There's an article by Peter Vickers, a professor of philosophy of science in Durham University, who listed a bunch of cases where a scientific theory was well accepted and proven based on misunderstood evidence. One of this comes from the 18th century geologist James Hutton, who claimed that the Earth is an organic body. According to him, Earth basically reproduces itself to provide a livable world for humans. Based on this theory, Hutton predicted that the veins of granite would be found passing through and mixing with other layers of rock. He also successfully predicted angular unconformities when a new rock layers rest at a very different angle to the older layer of rocks immediately beneath them. Ironically, what's funny is that his theory was false, and yet he found evidence that proved his prediction. And even though the theory was not true, not only that, it was also highly influential. So, however, the thing is that this theory is proven false in the 19th century, almost 100 years later, by the contracting Earth theory, and of course plate tectonics. So, as you can see, just because scientists have found good evidence for their theory doesn't prove anything. Because as we can see, with Hutton, he had a theory and he made predictions and he found evidence. So his theory was falsified, and yet 100 years later, his theory was proven false. So let me put my argument in a logical form. Premise 1. According to the Royal Institute, scientific theory is more than just a theory because it has evidence, predictability, and also because it was falsifiable. Premise 2. If we find any evidence that contradicts their statement, it would be proven false. Premise 3. We see that from the theory of James Hutton of organic Earth, that his theory had evidence, predictability, and was falsified, and yet 100 years later, it was still proven to be false by external evidence. This contradicts the statement of the Royal Institution. Conclusion. Therefore, the statement made by Royal Institution is proven false. A scientific theory in the end is still a theory.